take Chunk Chunk home. Say hi, Chunk Chunk. Oh, she tripped me out when she said that. Yeah, she didn't had her time with me, and pretty much ran and hid the whole time doing fireworks outside. So now we're back to reality. So wanted to come on real quick to talk to you about, oh snap, somebody in the wrong lane. Don't be playing around on my time. I'm on a one lane road, and somebody, I guess, wanted to go around. Like their timing was too close. All right, go ahead and replace my vehicle. I'm looking for a Range Rover right now. But my son contacted me last night. He was very, very frustrated on his job because he is working with coworkers that's slackers. They are slackers, and every time they slack, then it's like a trickle down effect. He gets the bad end of the deal, and the manager approach him about whatever is not cleaned or whatever comes up short. And so I explained to my son, I said, look, everybody does not have the same goal and intention in mind when they go to a job. Some people settle in for a job just because they don't really have a choice and they don't really like the job, but they just go ahead and accept it for what it is. But then they go and make everybody else's life miserable because they don't want to be there. And some people actually genuinely believe in having good work ethics, and it's really hard to find nowadays. I don't want him to feel like he has to work and live in fear like I did. All my life, I felt like I had to settle for something that I really wasn't feeling, because when I work and I put in time, I value my time, and it ain't just about making the job look good. Turn it down. But it's about just me feeling fulfilled, knowing that, okay, we all work together, like with me and my colleagues, and we managed to get, the job done, and we made a certain goal. Just like the job I had just left. The school was a failing school, and I just found out a couple of weeks ago, due to all of the fast testing and all of the things that I helped contribute to, now they are a B-rated school. But see, they ain't gonna give me credit for helping contribute, for helping out and contributing to the goal, because that's just too much like doing the right thing. And so I had to tell my son, you have to get fulfillment within yourself. You cannot go around thinking that everybody's going to think like you, perform like you, act like you. You just do your part, and if they don't want to cooperate, then you go to the higher ups. But ain't no need to crash out, because my son is the type. He will crash out just like his daddy when things don't go his way. And it's not that, my son crashed out because, he's just a bully and big and bad. But it's more like, okay, I'm trying to achieve a certain goal. We're supposed to work together, and then when somebody don't cooperate, then he gets frustrated. And it just reminded me of my situation when I was when I was in college. And I used to I dreaded doing group projects, because I always end up in a group where there's going to be one person that slack up and don't want to do their part. And so when it's like, I feel like I'll do my part, but it's like when I know we're all finna suffer just because there's one person slacking up, it just makes me lose respect for the job. It makes me lose respect for the project. It's almost like, okay, well, I ain't no need for me to stay up 2 o'clock in the morning trying to make this perfect, because so-and-so's supposed to do this part, and I'm not finna, be doing somebody else's work, helping them get an A+, helping them get paid more money just to do their part. That, to me, that's not teamwork. That is not teamwork. When somebody is piling up workload on you and want you to do, somebody else's job, but they still get paid. Like, yeah, some businesses, they really need to get it together. But anyway, the main point of this message in this video is to talk about fear. And if I'm not mistaken, fear represent false evidence appearing real. And I would say, do not allow fear to hinder your growth, to hinder or affect your blessings. And here are some examples of how I realized I allowed fear to hold me up. When I got married, I knew that I really wasn't fully prepared to be a wife. Not that I wanted to stay out in the streets and do, 3 or 4 type of activities. It's just I knew that I needed to learn more about myself in order to be able to pour into someone else. But I managed to make it work. However, I knew that it was just not meant for me to marry at a young age. But due to fear, I stayed in a marriage and tried to force something that was not meant to happen. So no matter how much I tried to be romantic, no matter how much I was faithful, no matter how much I tried to contribute and do whatever I can to pour into my spouse, I just knew that it just was not meant to be. And so because of the fear of being lonely, the fear of now the income changing, the fear of other people's opinion and how the Christian folks may judge me because I did not make it work with my spouse, I stayed longer than I was supposed to. And so it hindered my blessings because there are things that I could have accomplished years ago had I stepped out on my inner faith instead of living in fear. I didn't want to hurt my spouse's feelings because he claimed that he really wanted a family that he wished that he had, a better family. He wanted to start off with a healthier family where there was no addictions of drugs and gambling and stuff like that, but it was still some addictions. It just wasn't the same addictions. And that hindered his growth because he was forcing something that was not meant to be. Not that, he was a terrible, terrible, terrible person at the time, because I seen potential. But see, you cannot be with somebody based on a potential. Here's another example of fear holding you back. Fear of acknowledging other information rather than just only what you learn in the Bible. When you're stepping out on fear, when you're living in fear of, oh my gosh, am I being disobedient? Oh my gosh, am I going to curse myself? Then that is just showing you are telling God, the person you believe in, or the entity you believe in, you're telling that entity that you don't believe in none of the creations that he put on earth, and you're just going to limit yourself to one particular group of people that's telling you information based on their interpretation. And that is going to hinder you because I learned how to have more self-love when I opened up other books. I am so grateful for Dr. Browder. I am so grateful for Dr. Ray Hagins and Dr. Joy. And that's just a few. There's many, many other people that I can contribute my spiritual awakening to. But if I had not opened other books and welcomed other information, because I didn't want to just live my life in fear, then I still would have been stuck in the same place. I even healed my back, opening and reading and learning other information that exists out there instead of just relying on prescribed medicine that was just making me sleep my pain away. So just keep that in mind. It is nothing wrong with learning more than what is fed to you by Europeans that want to stay in control of your life. That's what they thrive off of, fear. So that's why they had to put you going to hell if you don't listen to the Bible, because they are part of the reason the Bible is spreading around the world. So, and I'm not saying everything is wrong in the Bible, but I'm just letting you know that when you get confused, it's time to open up another book. You don't just get confused and just stay confused. You further your information and your education, because a lot of times you could be possibly living in a very unhealthy way, but then you're using the Bible as a cover-up. And then that's another hindrance, because you're walking around judging everybody and, being closed off. He's not a Christian. Oh, he's a heathen. I'm not going to work with him. Or I'm not going to work with her. Or I'm not going to give them the time of day. And then that's when we hinder our growth and our blessings. Another one is, stepping out on faith within yourself as far as your talent and your career. I remember back then I used to be so afraid to speak in front of people because I'm always constantly worrying about what people may think of me, and what if I say this wrong, and what if I do this wrong. But when you realize that everybody is here to learn a lesson, that means some way along their journey they're gonna fuck up and make a mistake, whether they say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing. And so I had to come to my senses and say, okay, well, I'm only here to speak life into people and to wake people up. It may not be in a sugar-coated way, but that's all my goal. That's the only thing I aspire to do. But I had to snap out of that, because then I realized when I was quiet, I let a lot of things slide. I allowed people to abuse me verbally, abuse me mentally, physically, financially, because I was afraid to speak out, thinking that I wasn't going to say this right, and oh my gosh, I don't want them to be angry with me. Man, when you get to the point where people don't respect you and don't consider your feelings, then you walk around with a fuck it attitude. And then you get to the point where, okay, I'm going to stand on my own faith and belief, because I am special. I am important. I was put here for a reason, because I could have been gone long time ago. I could have been gone before, when my mom found out she was pregnant. She could have just said, hey, I don't want this pregnancy. I could have been gone when they had the shootout, when I told you about the guy who came into our house with a loaded gun and high off cocaine, trying to figure out if we did something to his drugs. I could have been gone when my uncle was drunk with a double-barrel sawed-off shotgun. I could have been gone when there was a shootout between an anti-government person and police. I mean, bullets flying across the neighborhood in front of my household. One of them bullets could have came toward me, because I was at the window recording everything. So, like I said, there's a purpose for me to be here and to achieve a certain goal. And whether people like me or not, I still got to do what I have to do. That's all it is to it. Everybody... Hold on, y'all. Yeah, so... I hate when the phone rings, because it throws me off my flow in my thought process. But don't worry, my spirit guides are gonna make sure I get this message out. So, but like I was saying, I used to live in a lot of fear of overthinking and wondering if people are gonna accept me or not. And I had to come to a realization that my job isn't here to be everybody's favorite. You know, of course, it's uncomfortable having enemies, but when you have enemies anyway, even if you keep your mouth shut, most of my abuse took place because I was quiet. I wasn't cussing nobody out. I wasn't throwing no temper tantrum, crashing out, and I still went through the abuse. My ass whoopings came from me being quiet, because they had to force me to talk and explain certain behaviors that I acted out. You know, I was always angry, but I was quiet with it. So I had to learn how to step out on my inner faith. See, when I'm giving out advice, I realize that many people, especially if you knew me since childhood, they don't want to accept the fact that growth is possible. What the fuck Kiki got to say? What's she talking about? She don't know what she's talking about. See, people don't want to accept the fact that change does exist, and because it's almost like it's challenging to change, and sometimes change requires people to come out of their comfort zone. So, like, when I give advice about faith and what you believe in, and when people get smart with me and was like, I'm gonna still believe in Jesus, that just tells me that this is what I hear. I'm afraid to accept your truth, because everybody else will turn their back on me, because I gotta stay with the majority and fit in with the majority. Whether they're wrong, whether they condemn me, whether they take from me, whether it's financially, whether they drain me, I gotta stay in that position in order to thrive in this world. Because that's the whole intention for the Europeans spreading Christianity all across the world. So if anybody try to be different or try to believe in the ancestors, then they have an excuse to condemn them or destroy them, either physically with torture, or try to blame them or put crime against them or something like that. That's the only way they were able to do it. They had to get majority on their side. Here's another thing. When I give people advice about being more respectable, you know, this is what comes to mind. This is what I hear. How in the world Kiki can tell me how to be respectable, and how when she used to do this and she used to do that. Well, listen, in order for me to be able to tell you what's safe and what's healthy and what's unhealthy, I gotta go through the shit in order for you to know what to do and what not to do. And if I'm telling you that, okay, getting with somebody that's low vibrational, that's out to use you financially, to use your body, dog you out, that it's gonna have detrimental effects on your mental. It could possibly affect your family. But it's like, people don't want to hear that kind of shit. They want to hear me talk about getting lit and twerking and trying to get the bag and get all the guys and compare dicks and all this and that. That's what they want to hear. So, when I give advice, it's out of love. It's because I have a love for people. And I think we got enough negativity flying through our society, whether it's in the school, whether it's on the radio, in the music, whether it's on TV shows. Every time I look around, I used to be a big fan of Tyler Perry. And I'm not saying he's not talented. He's really good at what he does. But it's like, it's just too many things that he's showing us in our community that's very negative. Everybody being sneaky and sleeping behind each other back and committing crime and stuff like that instead of uplifting each other. And so we're always fed with some type of negativity. We're watching the news, it's some type of negativity. It just, when you go to a Thanksgiving or a family gathering, somebody always being bitter and negative. Either they complaining about the food, or they trying to complain about what somebody dressed like and what somebody decided to do in their own life. They're trying to complain about their partners and what their sexual orientation is like. It's enough negativity out here. So I wanted to go at my content and come out in a different way. Yes, I grew up in a lot of negativity and a lot of chaos. So I'm like, if I got to talk about my negativity and all of the bad things I experienced, then I need to make room for some positivity, because there is a way that you can heal from all that bullshit. You don't have to walk around with all that shit on your back like it's a big backpack. No, you don't have to do that. So, and when I give advice about food, yes, I'm still learning myself. I don't have all the answers, but I know I have come a long ways, because I used to be a meat eater year round, just destroying my body. My body's struggling trying to break down that food. And it started to bother me, and I used to have issues with hypertension and all types of different things, pre-diabetic, having the shakes and be about to pass out and different things like that, because I was slowly killing myself, emotionally eating, not really learning the healthy way of eating. Because see, when you come out of church, the first thing they try to do on the Sundays is have Sunday dinner. All you get, fried chicken, a whole lot of greasy ham, hot collard greens, macaroni and cheese, sometimes with ham in it. They put a whole lot of oil in the cornbread. And I ain't gonna lie, that'd be the best cornbread. But yeah, my mom used to make her cornbread with bacon grease, oil. And that's why I gained weight in places that I really didn't want to gain weight in. But I'm working on making changes. So, and when I try to share this with people, that's because I want to see you live. But then, people be like, how she gonna tell me how I need to eat? And she got dimples in her butt, and she got wiggles and jiggles here and there and everywhere. And I'm like, well, yeah, I do have it, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that my advice isn't useful. It doesn't mean that, I don't care about your well-being, just because I'm trying to work towards making changes within myself. When I talk about finances, and I'm trying to tell you how the economy and the government set up a system for us to always struggle so they can get rich, and the poor, the struggling people stay poor. Not because I got all the answers, not because I'm a banker. I'm not giving advice because I'm a millionaire. I'm just telling you what I noticed, and I'm hoping that you don't make the same mistakes that I have made. It's not fun when you looking in your bank account and you thinking you finna go and get some gas in your account in the negative. And that's because when you allow your eyes to be bigger than your pockets, then you get stuck in situations like that. When you're thinking, oh, okay, I know I can go ahead and help somebody else with something financially, and I'll be good because I know they'll pay me back. And then they don't come through. They don't pay you back. Or let's go ahead and celebrate the 4th of July. So I'm going to take all the little extra change I got, and I'm going to go I'm going to go pop some fireworks, knowing that the fireworks is polluting the air. I know my boys, they burnt up their fingers the last go round. I don't even participate in that type of stuff. But they want to fit in. So I'm using up my gas, trying to go and make sure they go fit in and watch some fireworks, things that they see every single year. Dealing with sound pollution, you dealing with air pollution and all that mess going on. And now, and then my bank account looking kind of scary because, I'm trying to help contribute, trying to buy some baked beans and some hot dogs and barbecue chicken and making sure everybody comfortable and good, got their little drinks and stuff like that. And then your bank account come up short. Or when Christmas come around and oh my gosh, Jesus was born in December. Jesus probably was born in spring or December. I don't know. They don't give us the exact date. But I know one thing they didn't do. They did not ask Mary and Joseph to go out there and spend $2,000 on some iPhones and some expensive computers just because Jesus was born. I do know that. And we're all part of God's children. So that's why I said, a lot of us, we're following all these, trends and trying to fit in, and you're living in fear when you want to fit in. Maybe that's why both of the words begin with F. Something to think about. But it takes a brave person that have a love for life. And when I say life, I mean really want to enjoy life to the fullest without limitation. It takes somebody to really step out on inner faith and make changes within their life. And just like I was saying, when I tell my students, I said, look, I understand school is not fun and all it's doing is preparing you to be a robot for some type of cooperation, but we're here, we might as well make the best of the situation. And then when I get an attitude of somebody trying to interrupt my class and they getting all snatching and slamming the books, to me, this is what I hear. Man, how come this teacher want to see me pass and see me be successful? Fuck, I want to stay a flunky. I don't want to learn nothing about school. I just want to struggle in the system. See, school is for the system. If you're going to live in the system, you got to finish school. You got to do what you got to do in school. Unless you know how to beat the system. That's the only way. You got to have a good game plan to know how to beat the system. If you don't know how to read and write and count, then you're going to have a hard time surviving in the system, because all the jobs require you to know how to read, write, and count. I don't care if you got to clean toilets. You still got to know what you end up doing. You got to read a schedule. You got to read the checkoff list. So you got to know how to count your money. Count them hours you put in. So I'm going to go ahead and conclude it here. I know I kind of was a little all over the place, but hopefully you can take some of my words and apply it for your benefit as far as helping you, push yourself a little harder out of the traditions of fear. Till next time, I love you. Peace out.